gals, welcome back to the Director's Cut. And we are talking about a really interesting topic. It came out of a conversation that we were having, and so we really wanted to share it with you guys. So the topic today is responding responsibly. And we're really just going to dive right in. So our first question about it is, what does that mean to you?
So ownership. Owning what you say or how you say it, or regardless of what your intention is, you own the way it is perceived. So you have to be responsible for that. You are bringing things to other people.
There's so much in our life. Things happen. People say things, situations, and we respond. So either we respond rashly, or we're using the word responsibly. We could also say thoughtfully, or, but, how do you respond? It's kind of who do you want to be? Like, you want to be someone stop and think before you act and speak, or fly off at the handle.
I think we need more of those people.
Right.
Well, I think, I don't know exactly, can't off the top of my head remember kind of what the saying is, but it's not necessarily who a person is, but it's how they respond or how they react within life that really defines, because someone can have it all together because they don't have to really think through something, like they got everything planned, everything rehearsed, but it's not until you have them in that situation where they have to respond. They have to react. They have to have something that, in essence, I think it gives a picture into your character of how you respond is indicative of how you are when no one else is looking or behind closed doors or whatever.
It also goes back to I want to say it's Maya Angelou, but I could be wrong. But they're not going to remember what you said, or they're going to remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think that's another piece. There's a responsibility. You can hurt someone with a response.
Yeah.
But even if it's a quiet response, even if it's no response, there's feelings associated with that.
I think it's a really good point, especially with today's climate, with social media, politics, COVID, all the things. One of the things I found my heart actually breaking was because of people's responses to things. And we know how social media is not a real conversation. It's not real people. It's, you're going to say things that you would be braver to say to someone's face. And that could completely sever relationship.
Yeah.
And so many conversations that I had with my own kids, with people that I was mentoring at the time was this is not real. And think before you respond. Think what you're saying and who you're affecting. And there was just so many things. And it's not that I don't want you to be honest, to share your opinion, but think about where you're doing it and how you're doing it. And what is going to be the consequence of this response?
Well, and I think you bring up a good point in the sense that we are living in an age, and it's more and more, we talk about cyber bullies and all of that, people don't have to always be completely accountable. There's not a face-to-face interaction or even a phone call, where you're on a phone call with someone and you say something. There's more gravity when you put it out there and you respond or not respond in a social setting or on a social platform. Many of us can think back to several of these issues that have come up, and people were judged by either how they responded or how they didn't respond. And that's not fair.
That judgment, though, it's an instant judgment. What I find fascinating is that, growing up prior to social media and the internet and things like that, my bullies had to come face to face with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come on.
But the impact, and I just wasn't bullied as some people were, but the impact seems almost greater because it's more of it. It's not even that individual interaction, but instead of that one bully that's coming at you face to face, you got 100.
Yeah.
And there's something that's just so kind of emotional to that.
It's very overwhelming.
So,
Yeah.
and I think we have a responsibility to hearing about kids that, read social media pages and think about suicide.
Oh,
You just kind of go, wait, how does that? But it is there. It is there. Accountability piece of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like with my son, it's like you have the right to feel the way that you want to feel, because it may not have made you feel a certain way. But again, you have to be mindful of how you present that, because people perceive it a certain way, and then you're tagged a certain way. It can follow you. And again, with the social media aspect of it, it could come back at you, people.
It's really hard too. And I guess maybe let's move into our next thought on this, because I think it segues beautifully into what you can control and what you can't control. And something we, unfortunately, in our family have watched a few relationships completely fall apart because of things that were posted on social media. And it's a frustration, because it's like, well, if you don't agree with what that person says, you can't control what they say, they think, all of that, and what they post. Scroll on by and don't let it eat at you so much so that when you do get in person with this person, you decide that you have to share with them all the things that you disagree with them about. You can't control what that person thinks. You're not going to change it. That's how they think, but you can control your response, what you're going to do about it. And unfortunately, because there was no thought put into it, we've had entire relationships within our family just gone. Like,
I think you bring up a really interesting point that you can scroll through.
Right.
We have caller ID. You don't have to answer the phone, and it's okay. But there is something now, and I really do kind of miss the phone being in the kitchen with the really long cord.
Yeah.
Where you had no privacy, so feelings were all out in the open.
Right.
But there's something about this idea that now that our phones they're literally on us 24/7. I mean, most of us sleep with our phone within hand distance. Heaven forbid at 3 a.m. we miss somebody's pancake breakfast from, the other side of the country.
Right.
But because there is this expectation of, you didn't like my picture, you didn't comment, you didn't this, there's an immediacy. Like, we have forgotten we have a choice. We can control. We don't even have to be on there.
Right.
And life was way simpler. Let's be honest. We didn't know. I mean, I love social media. I love being in contact with people that I would have lost contact with. It's certainly faster to share good news and even hard news and things like that and support. But we just have to remember it's a choice. We can control that.
Yeah.
There's so many things in our life that social media is a good conversation, but just other things in life that we didn't have a choice about, like who your parents were, how you're raised, or where you went to school. There's like your financial situation, your skin color, sometimes health issues. There's so many things that you can't control about your life. So it's something that is what it is, but what you do have choice and control over is how you respond to that. So when I'm thinking of responding responsibly, separating kind of what I have control over and what I don't have control over. And, just like we can't control what's on social media, but we can control a lot of things in our life.
Sure.
But then how are we going to be bitter or better, or are we going to...
There's our next t-shirt. Bitter or better.
Smart.
Keep learning and growing,
And I know it's a little on the stereotype, but I kind of wish we had some more Southern belles. This idea of, oh, bless you. I mean, that's not what you mean, but yet it can come across in a much more, you can still have a difference of opinion or a negative thought. It's how you express it too. I don't have to come at you screaming and yelling that you're the worst person and use every profanity. I joke about the Southern belle kind of thing because everyone knows that's very sarcastic, but there is a there is a kind of a culture of that, of you can still say F off, but I'm going to say it in a nice way. And that's, I think, a choice too. And we do have control over that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to not agree. I don't know where it is that we have all come up to this, like, oh my gosh, we don't agree on everything.
We can't be friends.
We can't be friends.
Yeah. I'm going to unfriend you.
Yeah.
Or just, you know, ghost people because of something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And not I guess, you know, try and figure it out. You know, I think that's also within that response of responding responsibly, is that why have we decided that we can't have tough conversations?
Mm-hmm.
Why have we decided that they offended me, so I'm just not going to talk to them?
Why have we all decided that everything written on the internet is directed at you?
but even
They might not even know you were there.
but I'm not even saying
Yeah.
internet. You know, if we take that away and we let's, you know, throw social media out of the discussion here just for a minute. I'm talking about, you know, family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone says something, or you're in a business meeting. You're in a someone does something at work and it offends you or triggers you.
Yay,
Sorry.
love that word.
Why
That
have
trigger was the
we?
worst.
I know. Why have we come to an acceptable culture that we can just dismiss and just go, okay, I'm never having anything to do with you again because you did it, and it's all about me and you hurt my feelings. And sometimes, like, what was said or done, or someone who maybe was disengaged. I went through this actually at my corporate job right before I went full time in my business. I had a gal who was like, I was cubicle here, she was cubicle here, and I was very much about, I know what I have to do each day. I'm going to do my, I wasn't always that sociable all the time. Not that I didn't socialize with my coworkers, but she took offense and actually took me into my manager and was accusing me of like bringing down morale and I was not sure. I did not even understand. Of course, it happened to be on the worst day that she did this because a lot of family stuff was going on. So I just burst into tears. So then she felt like horrible, and I was not trying to be manipulative, but I was like, well, whatever works. So she felt bad.
Tears are always good sometimes.
I know. But why did she not, like, for her to have to take me, and I think this happens, like, to the nth level, or they shut people off. Like, why don't we just have conversations?
Yeah.
It's tough conversation.
Yes.
I know it's hard.
But I think it is truly because we now have this protection. We have this screen. We have this filter. We have, let's be fair. I mean, how many of us posted honest to goodness? We didn't take 6 pictures before we posted our profile. We didn't just take click, here's our picture, and we put it up there. We look for the best. We try
absolutely.
and portray that. But I think that people have forgotten how to say, hey, you know what? I didn't like what you said. Can you explain it? I'm very fortunate right now working for a company that actually has brought in, and every single person in our leadership has gone through a program called Lionheart. And it is specifically on no ego. You leave your ego in the car. We're all here to do the job. Have the conversation. Don't email, don't anything. Get up, walk down there and say, hey, can we talk?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. When I first got there, it was a little weird. A lot of touchy-feely. Everyone wants to, can we talk?
A little woo.
A little woo. But we had an events committee meeting. We were planning for our Christmas party. And I made a comment that I had no idea. First year I've been doing this with them, and I somehow was running the events committee. And one of the girls was like, she comes in after the meeting and she goes, can we talk? And I'm like, okay, of course. And she goes, did I offend you? What are you talking about? I mean, I had no clue. And it was how I was assigning stuff that she had normally done these things. Oh, this was normally her thing. But I didn't know that.
Sure.
And so she was like, well, did I offend you? And I just,
You're like,
I
Yeah.
loved the opportunity to have that conversation.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Right.
she didn't, and it was right after the
Absolutely.
meeting. She came right in away, and I went, "Oh, you want to do it? I mean, just put your name." You know,
Right.
Absolutely. You can do it all.
but we've forgotten that
Yeah.
we have to come, and I think that's part of that responding responsibly
Right.
Yeah.
is, hey, I don't like what you said, or I don't like what you did.
And if you have an issue
Yeah.
with someone, go to them directly.
Mhm. I've even found like my daughter got really offended one time about what one of my family members had said to me, and I was like, I just kind of said the honest thing but laughed it off, like, oh, nope, I'm not gonna do that, or just like
Yeah.
in a very, but like, or we would sometimes in our family say, oh, ouch, that actually kind of hurt my feelings, but like finding the way to say what you need to say. It doesn't have to be, oh, I hate you because you don't like, rah, that's
And
not
maybe you need time to
necessarily-
process it. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. Sometimes I tell all of my managers when I'm training managers, when you're going to write an email about something you are very upset about,
Mhm.
I want you to write it the minute you're upset. Write that email out, break that keyboard, just do whatever, get it out there, and then walk away.
Uh-huh.
Don't send it.
Not said it.
Yeah. Do not send it. Walk away, and then I'll come back and read it again. Are you still feeling the
All of those
feelings?
things. Yeah.
And
Right.
if those feelings are still there, then craft it in a way that will be a conversation, not as an accusation. And I think that's really hard. And I mean, definitely on a professional level, you have to be able to have those conversations.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think it actually segues beautifully into also the last part that we wanted to talk about is you also don't have to say anything.
True.
You do not have to respond.
Not responsible for responding if someone wants a response.
That is a response.
It is a response. Yes, agreed.
And I do think that's something people need to be mindful of, that sometimes that response is very hurtful. Hey, I reached out. You didn't call me back.
That
I
is
actually
true.
had my friend text me this morning, and I forgot to text her back yesterday because I took a nap and was running and all this stuff. And she goes, hey, you didn't text me back yesterday. And I was like,
good for her.
sorry.
Yeah. I
You
think it's and of course, like, as we're talking about this, I'm like, ooh, this is like a whole personality. Like, oh my gosh. But I am a high I. I'm a person who gets a lot out of social. And so that is something I've had to really work on myself, in that if someone doesn't respond to me, it doesn't mean they hate me. Like,
I was
so
gonna
there's
say
the opposite flip side of that too,
Yeah.
in that
if someone doesn't
if they don't respond, it's okay. They also are busy.
Mm-hmm.
They have things going on. And so I love what you said that your friend did. Hey,
Everything. And it was very much
just
Make
want
sure
to
you're
making sure you're okay.
Yeah.
I do think that as I'm getting older, I respond less and less. I really, and my boss says, she goes, this is the battle. Do I die on this hill or do I win the war? I'm like,
True.
yeah, this isn't the hill I want to die on. Like, I will literally say that to myself and just be like, I don't need to be involved in this.
Yeah.
And
There's freedom in that.
there's a ton of, it's amazing.
My favorite saying last year was let it simmer. Just let it simmer. And that
Another
was
t-shirt.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes when that happens, it just, it simmers and then it cools off and then it just dissipates. And then, like, sometimes you can have a conversation if it was necessary, but sometimes, because we can't respond, if you know by responding, because there are people, if you respond, it doesn't matter what you respond.
Right.
They don't want to really have you respond.
Right.
They just want your response so they can then come at you and cause that
like the drama.
drama. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Time for
sometimes you just okay, is this just gonna simmer and then just cool down? And then you can say, okay, let's have the conversation. But yeah, I definitely think there's two sides of that. Of it's okay not to respond, or just be very minimal and just be like, I'm sorry, or
Yeah.
that's too bad, or something.
I always say I don't even want to entertain that. So I'll just let it go.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Because like you said, it just feeds into more and more, and then it becomes something that it wasn't even. So yeah.
Well,
It's interesting, I think, COVID, all of us being in our houses and all of us, we spent a lot of time there was some stuff on social media that I was just like, this would not have happened otherwise. At least I hope
True.
it would not have
Yeah,
happened otherwise. But But there is also that there's validation to it. Those responses validate. Whether you agree or not agree, you're still validating the idea by entertaining it.
True.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah.
And I've watched some people validate some stuff that I'm going, I know you. That is not you. Like, well, I don't know what's happening right now, but that is not you.
Yeah. And just like we said earlier, you don't have to respond.
But that's why it's responding responsibly, because you know who the person is, but then they can get wrapped up and
Also don't know, and this is, in HR, I have to explain to people, well, I didn't mean it to be offensive. I wasn't even, if, I'm having a conversation with you and you overhear it, that's still my responsibility. We have to think about, it's, especially social media. You're not talking to one person. You're talking to that person and every friend they have.
It's like the older family members that would like post a post. Instead of messaging you, they put it on your page and you're like, did you know you put that out to everybody? It's kind of similar to that.
Or answering machines.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yes.
try to get home real quick
Or-
and erase it before your mom.
Someone.
Someone
Or,
gets
or when voicemail took over answering machines and you get the,
Hello?
hi, hello, pick up. Sorry, that was a little rabbit trail. But
Things are definitely not the same
no.
as they used to be. For some good and for some bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
When my kids got old enough for Facebook, and one of the things I said to him, I said, sure, no problem. You can have a Facebook. I don't care. Right? I said, here's what you need to know. I'm on there. Dad's on there. Grandma and Grandpa are on there. And our priest is on there. If you can't say it in front of all those people, don't say it. And they really, and my kids aren't big on social media, but
I think it's something everyone should think about.
think about who your audience is.
Respond responsibly.
Yes, that's a good one.
If I can't say it to the priest, my mother-in-law, it ain't happening.
Sounds like a joke or something.
It does. It really does.
T-shirt.
Well,
There was a priest and my mom.
Similar thing with my son when he was earlier on. I mean, it just shows that everyone. It's another thing is everyone is watching. So I think that's why that responding responsibly is there are a lot of eyeballs if you're putting it out there on social or in a community like you're saying things. People watch, and I think part of it is okay. Kind of going back to like I was saying the character of who we are, but kind of a funny story is my son was it was middle or high school, like youth group or whatever, and they were doing that cinnamon challenge where they, they're really dangerous. And so I don't know how many phone calls, text messages I got from people in Denver where, he grew up and we lived for, that were like, did you see this? And and so then I'm having to say, okay, what'd you do tonight? What? And he didn't even know like the magnitude of response of just care. Like, hey, this is a dangerous thing. What's your kiddo doing? I'm like, okay, we'll take care of it. I promise. But I do think we have as humans, and if we want to be a good role model or whatnot, we have to think it through because people are watching.
You have to think before you act or speak, and just be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
I even think about what you're saying. I have, and I'm sure Patty Lynn, I have ex-students that are on there too. I think about that all the time as well.
Yeah.
I think I want them to see this.
Well, yeah. I mean, responses, pictures, whatever.
All of it.
It's
all
of
out
it.
there.
Those are all. I mean, I really do think like the social media conversations, the things we post, it's a response. It's a response to something. It's a conversation starter, whatever it is, and it's like, I think that responding responsibly can bleed over into that whole.
Oh my
we
gosh.
used to have where our word, you hear people go, we did it on a handshake. Our word meant something, and I think that is part of truly thinking about what you are saying and meaning it. We have created such an environment where it's harder and harder to take someone's word for something.
Yeah.
And that is because we stopped responding in my opinion, is because we stopped responding responsibly.
Yeah.
We could just talk on
I
for
know.
a
We'll go ahead. That was a really great,
some
I think,
t-shirts to make.
ending. Is there anything else? Are your hearts clear? Do you need to share anything else before we end this? All right. I think we're good. So we're going to go ahead and end this director's cut. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you like and subscribe.
Yes.
If you're on YouTube, make sure you find us in our Facebook group. We would love to have you. And of course, answer the questions that we answered in the comments. We would love to hear your responses as well.
We will interact.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
will. We will interact with you on there. So we would love it.
We will respond responsibly.
That's right. That's
There you
right.
go. There you
Respond responsibly and comment. All right. Till next director's cut, we will see you guys next month. Have a fantastic day.
Bye.